question about my grandson. One of my grandsons is 13, and he's a bit of, he goes in a different direction. And you were saying that rather than seeing him as he is now, to look toward where your inner being sees him.
We said something almost like that, but just a little bit different. And we are so happy that you've asked this question. We are suggesting that in the same way that you accept that there's the physical you and there's the inner being you, and that the best of all worlds is when you are really in sync. In other words, when you are allowing yourself, because resistance is slight or non-existent, to be fully integrated with your own inner being, then you feel good, you're extra wise, you've got really good balance, you're in the right place at the right time, you have really good timing, you're in love with life. And so what we're suggesting is that you recognize in every other, especially this 13-year-old, that like you, that he also has a physical human side which might be disconnected or pinched off from who he really is, but that he has an inner being part too, and that everything that he's been living is causing the expansion of this inner being part. So what we are encouraging you to do is to deliberately try to have a relationship with the inner being part of him even more than you do with the physical part of him.
That's the part I'm not quite understanding.
We know it's tricky. It's tricky. You said he goes a different way. Talk to us just slightly, softly if you want to, on what way he goes. That
well, he failed every class last semester, and he only cares about games.
We're going to talk from your inner being point of view and from his, but we're just going to give you a slightly different perspective of him. He succeeds at what interests him, and he makes no pretenses about what doesn't.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So don't you feel a little warmer about his inner being than you did? Now we can tell you the story in another way. When I look at his failure of all of his classes, my choosing to look at that causes me to move away from my inner being who is not looking at that, and I think it's his failure when really it's mine.
Meaning that I should not look at the failure?
Meaning that when you do, you don't feel good, so why are you?
So what would I be looking at? I mean, he's a great kid. Is that what you're talking about?
These are really good questions. Let's keep talking until it clicks into place, because a whole lot of people in this room are wondering the same thing.
So this is what happens, and what I do, which is why I'm probably tighter with him than any of my grandchildren, is that I do see him. I've heard you say this before, and I try to do that. Focus on, he is a great guy. He is a great guy, and he's a very smart and a loving guy. And he told me that since we worked together through summer school and he passed everything in summer school, he said, why don't I just do what I want for the 10 months and you and I will work together for the 1 month and I'll just go to summer school. So I try to focus on that cleverness and that humor, but I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure he's not serious though.
He is serious. Let's introduce into this conversation the subject of path of least resistance. Path of least resistance, by that we mean the path of most allowance, and by that we mean the path of most connection to who you really are, the path leading to who you really are rather than away from who you really are. We have a question for you. Is your experience with him, is he more often feeling good or not feeling good?
Oh, feeling good.
So from what you know of what we talk about here, what do you think we think that means?
I know what you think, but it's just that society and the teachers at school don't.
So what do you think we think that means?
I mean, he's following his path, I guess, his inner being. He's following.
And so does that make him leading edge?
Yes.
Do you think he could ever go back?
I doubt it.
If he's feeling good, do you think that that means that his inner being is calling him?
I think so.
Would you rather he followed a teacher that doesn't know or an inner being that does?
You're right. Inner being.
Do you think that he has the potential of following his inner being and then his teacher following him and his inner being?
I do think so.
Do you think he has the potential or the ability to win over his teacher? He's won you over.
Yeah, sure. I do think so. I do think so. It's just in the meantime.
In the meantime,
I say in the meantime when I have to go see the principal and these people, and I guess I'm being distracted by them, that you're saying that I should just focus on the fact that he's happily going in the direction of his inner being. I'm pretty happy with that, and that these other people, I guess, will fall in line.
well, we liked your opening words to us. You said he goes a different way, or he goes his own way. You didn't want to offer any criticism. You were just pointing out that he approaches life in a sort of different way. And we want to say to you that when you look into your current population and you find those who stand out, rarely have they followed the norm.
True.
But the norm clamors to condemn them. Why do you think that is?
Why do they condemn them?
Yeah.
I guess because they're different. They don't follow the society.
And so why do you think the norm needs to control this unique 13-year-old of yours? Why would anyone need to control him?
Well, I guess he shows them a different something higher.
Yeah. He's happy. They want to be. He's confident. They want to be. They're not confident. They're afraid. And so many parents are afraid. They're afraid to turn loose of the guidance of their child. They want the safety of what is rather than the thrill and the adventure of what really is. You see, if you said to us, I have a 13-year-old grandson and he is miserable, we'd be having a whole different conversation. We'd be encouraging you to encourage him to hook up with who he is. But he's already hooked up with who he is, and he's already romping in the direction of magnificent things. And what you're worried about are the masses who don't get that. And we say, his inner being isn't looking back at the masses, and he's not looking back at the masses, and we're not looking back at them, and we don't think it's a very good idea for you to do it either. If you need everybody to agree with your approach to life, then you're always going to be standing in a place of bewilderment, because there's so many different ways of approaching life experience. But if you just break it down to the simple understanding about your own guidance system, the thing that we enjoy so much in watching relationships with people like you, with people like your grandson, is that what you get to demonstrate to each other is alignment. And you don't have anything else to give anyone. If you are not in alignment with who you are, you have nothing to give except rules and regulations and requirements and mediocrity and boredom and defensiveness and rationalization. That's no way to live. And isn't it remarkable? How do you think this kid got that way in a society that is pushing so hard the other way? How do you think that happened?
I guess he just doesn't adhere to what they think. He follows the inner guidance.
So he was born knowing, and no one talked him out of it.
I sure never tried to, but I like this confirmation that we're going in the right direction.
We like that you didn't try to talk him out of it either. In other words, the whole conversation and all the hours that we were together with all of you, it's all about you have guidance within you that is calling you, calling you, calling you. Unless you have beliefs that are blocking your ability to hear, you'll always know which way to go, you see. It's so much fun. If you could look into his vortex, if you could look down the road like we are and see the magnificence of the life that this kid has laid out before him, and the absence of obstacles because he knows his own way, and because he didn't have the disadvantage of being talked out of his own guidance, he's following it right along the way, you see. Most people have to get beat up pretty good. Most people have to feel a lot of negative emotion before they give up on things that are not working. Isn't it nice to know someone who didn't have to give up on what didn't work? He just always got to do what does.
Which is probably why I feel closest to him.
Yeah. And he to you. You are the catalyst for him.
I appreciate that. And I just want to say one thing. I just really appreciate, the daily YouTubes, the books and everything, and Esther and Abraham and Jerry, I really, really made a huge difference. And
We're all in this
everything
together,
that we
aren't
said
we?
today. Yeah, thank you
This
so much.
conversation took thought where it has not been before. Our
Appreciate that.
appreciation is to you.
Thanks so much.
Feeling pretty good, eh? Now you've got the whole of this in your understanding, do you? Do you know that you are the creator of your own reality? And do you know that you are the creation that you are the creator of? And do you know that you are an eternal being who is here in this physical body for the purpose of mixing it up with others and becoming more of who you are? And do you know that every negative emotion you have is a gift or a blessing that someone has offered to you, because it is helping you to realize that you're looking over here when what you really want to do is look over there? Do you accept the fullness of your inner being? Do you think that your inner being has benefited by your contrasting experiences? Do you think that your inner being feels appreciation for the expansion that your inner being has experienced as a result of your willingness to play with one another? Do you think that your inner being stands in that expansion at all times and holds steady to that frequency? Do you think, since law of attraction is responding to everything that vibrates, and you have the potential of vibrating as your inner being does, or vibrating apart from your inner being, do you think that law of attraction, who is responding to your inner being, is creating an environment where expansion and wonderful emotions are possible for you? Doesn't it make you want to lean that way more? Doesn't it make you proud that you're physical, but happy that you're non-physically focused too? Doesn't it feel like you want to bridge this physical world with this non-physical world? Does it seem possible to separate one from the other? Aren't you now more keenly aware of every physical human who has ever walked this earth, who now stands in a non-physical realm? Aren't you happy that that non-physical energy is still alive and vital and aware of you and still calling you forward? Does it feel possible to you that non-physical energy can call you into the creative energy that is in this vortex without you croaking? Don't you want to be physically focused and still in this physical body and doing something that so few do, being fully engulfed and engaged with the non-physical essence of who you are? Don't you want everything you paint to be the beautiful painting that you have the potential of painting? Don't you want to look at every single human being, and instead of seeing them where they stand, instead see them in the potential that they have accomplished? Don't you want to see and know the inner being part of everyone that you engage with? Don't you love knowing our friend's 13-year-old grandson? Aren't you excited about who he really is? And aren't you happy that he has not yet lost his way? And aren't you happy that you have now found your way? Don't you want to stop standing on your head in all kinds of different ways in order to please others who will never be pleased? And don't you want to let them stand with you in the place that they stand, which is to stir you up into asking for more? And don't you want to let all of them off the hook and stop asking them to be the way you think they need to be in order for you to feel better? Don't you want to look where it's easy to feel better and just feel better? And when you look where it's easy to feel better and you just feel better, then don't you think that you'll be engaging with them and understanding who they are, and you won't be asking them to be the one that shores you up, because you don't need